Hi, my name is Maz, and ever since I was a child, I think I've been ashamed of my brown skin. Now, I'd been wanting to talk about this for so long. Not only had I been tinkering away with this script for over a year, but then I sat on it, saying that I'd release it next month, and then next month, and then next month, and then next month, until another year had passed into 2020. So to say that it's been difficult to share this story or part of myself is a pretty huge understatement. A part of it has to do with the fact that I'm not the type to discuss serious topics on this channel, you know? I love making you guys laugh, and it's an absolute joy to do that. But I guess that's also made me afraid of expressing my own deep-rooted insecurities. So yeah, this video is going to be a little different, but it's something that I want to make for myself first. And if it helps anybody else along the way, then awesome. So strap in, put on your boots, and let's take a trip down racism memory lane. The beginning. February 10th, 1997. On this exact date, a small, mozzie chocolate boy pops into the world, ready to take it on head first. My parents then raised me in Pakistan for the first year or so, following the Islamic traditions that they were accustomed to, and after a year and a bit, headed on over straight to Japan. It was mainly to get the best quality of life for their new family, because by this time, I also had a little brother. Before I showed him some brotherly love. So after spending a few years there and having a good old time with Japanese culture, my parents then decided to go to New Zealand for more opportunities. Some of my fondest memories are of my primary school years, where I'm having fun, drawing, and goofing off as a young naive kid. So once I graduated from primary school, I headed off to intermediate, which is a fancy way of saying middle school. When I got there though, the first thing that I and goofing off as some of my fondest memories are of my primary school years, where I'm having fun, drawing, and goofing off as a young naive kid. So once I
it's all cheerful and then
graduated from primary school, I headed off to intermediate, which is a fancy way of saying middle school. When I got there though, the first thing that I noticed was that the teacher was really harsh to me. And I mean only me. It was almost like a movie cliche because she ended up not picking me for any of the answers, finding any excuse to punish me and handing out detentions for the smallest reasons that she could think of. Now, at the time, whilst I knew English, I was still new to the country and I definitely had an accent. And I thought maybe it could have been that, like she didn't understand what I was saying, or maybe I did something by accident that made her view me negatively or said something I shouldn't have. Surely an adult wouldn't pick on a kid without a solid reason, right? It wasn't until much later that I learned that she had supposedly lost people during the September 11 attacks. And of course I can understand the bitter feelings and resentment that may arise from that. It's a horrific incident that traumatized so many people and definitely impacted the world.
Yeah.
But even when knowing all that, it still didn't make life easier for the 10-year-old boy just trying to go to school.
That a adult teacher would do that to a child, that's messed up in like so many ways. Because a teacher is someone who helps develop your students. They're your only role models aside your parents or your siblings. Like really, your teacher is like your first role model, and for her to do that to Maz as a child, that's so messed up. And like, oh wow. But like, I'm not invalidating that, or not invalidating. Like I can understand her personal feelings, or not understand, but just sort of I get why, or not why. It's hard to explain because like truthfully, I don't want to validate her doing that to Maz as a child, because like you're basically blaming him. You're basically blaming a child for the sins of their parent or their country, which a child who really has no sort of attachment to them. But I can also understand her personal feelings and how hard it would be to separate them, because I mean, like, as a child, it would be just literally a symbol of what took away her daughter or like her kid, and like that sort of resentment and hatred. I can understand that it would be so hard to separate it, and maybe this is some way for her to cope, but that doesn't make it okay. Like, we all go through tough times, but I mean, being a jerk about it doesn't make it okay.
I was just sitting there trying to be the best student that I could be. I did my homework, I paid attention in class, I got excellent grades, so why was she being so mean to me? I didn't understand how an incident so far away in another country affected me, a 10-year-old child just trying to do my best. After that year, we then moved to rural, out in the middle of nowhere, Australia, with very few people of color, and the brownest things out there were the kangaroos. This was such a fresh start, I'm sure things will pick up from here. Well, I definitely crossed my fingers and hoped so, but with my faith and color of my skin, I couldn't help but stand out from the crowd. I was the butt of all the jokes, and I could tell from day one that I did not belong here. But I wasn't gonna take it all lying down. I know I'm a Pakistani Muslim, and I refuse to be an outcast because of it. So I started to poke fun of myself as well. Whoa, hey, watch out guys, don't make me call my uncle. Wait, are you eating pig, bro? Guys, if you piss me off, I'll blow you up. Yikes.
Oh, wow.
And it actually got so bad that a friend of mine within my squad at the time asked, "Hey dude, why are you constantly making fun of yourself? You're doing it more than us at this point." And I answered without any irony or emotional attachment, because if I do it first, nobody else can hurt me. And I remember saying that so matter-of-factly, as if it was only natural. And it's only now that I realize how problematic that was.
Yeah, or like, because a lot of people don't realize how damaging words can be. And even if it's taken in a joking manner, that still doesn't make it okay. It's not to. Basically, saying mean stuff as a joke, that's not okay. And saying, like, that's not a reason to say it. Like, pretty much saying, like, "Hey, you're ugly," and then be like, "Oh, come on, man, I'm just joking, come on, man. We both know you're not ugly." That still doesn't make it okay, because, like, you're sort of sending them, or putting, not sending a message, but sort of putting an idea or a thought in the back of their head, say, what if I am ugly? And when you repeat something over and over again, you can't help but start to believe it. Because that's how humans are. We just sort of, we doubt ourselves, and just like, and like that sort of thought can become to an idea, to come more to our existence, and become more hatred to ourselves, and just like, that's what creates like a bad self-image. Yeah. So just like, yeah, I guess. And also another issue I've heard is that people oftentimes say it's like, "Oh yeah, why are you taking so much offense to it? I have other black friends or brown friend, and they don't care. So it's like I could say it whenever I want." Or like just because you have people of color and they're okay with that joke, that doesn't mean it's still okay to say that joke. That's not a valid reason, or that's not even a reason for it. Just because someone's okay with it doesn't mean it's okay to say it.
So much self-hate that I had been harboring for my own culture, religion, and myself. It's not to say that joking about these topics is forbidden or anything, because I still do it from time to time. However, once you keep hearing all these negative points about your cultural roots, your faith, and your people over and over and over, you slowly start to believe them, to start hating yourself on an intrinsic level, wishing that you belonged somewhere. And all of that is perfectly encapsulated within a letter that I wrote myself all those years ago. Now, to provide context to middle school Maz, this is how I looked. Now, I'm not going to roast my younger self this time, but I think objectively, you can see that there's a lot that I could have worked on. I had pretty messed up teeth, I wore really oversized clothes, and my glasses were a little out of fashion. But back then, when I asked myself, what is the one thing you wish you could change? I looked in the mirror with all of the flaws that I had just listed and answered, my skin color. That still gets me to this day. I was in middle school, puberty, emotions, and hormones getting me confused about everything. And that's the biggest issue that I could find about myself. Something that I had absolutely no control over. And as the years kept going, I got more and more accustomed to the jokes and comments and developed my humor as a defense mechanism. So when I do get hit with the brunt of it, I can laugh it off, shrug my shoulders, and then dish it back with confidence, all without resolving anything. At least this charade was helping me in drama class, where it was all about putting on an act. And honestly, with how much media and drama I was doing, watching all these content creators, seeing how it all worked behind the scenes, it was so mesmerizing to me. And in that excitement, I walked up to my drama teacher, relayed it all to him, to which he replied, "Remember that people won't like you because you're brown." He said it in a joking manner, pointing out how few South Asian people there were in Hollywood and how they were typecast in a negative way.
But like, oh gosh.
But I actually agreed with his point. Because even now, if he were to ask me to list off as many South Asian or brown people in media, Aziz Ansari, Priyanka Chopra, Dave Patel, Kumail Nanjiani, Hassan Minhaj, and I had to rack my brain to think of them when I was writing this script. Even with cartoons, in which you can draw anything you want, who could I look up to? What, Aladdin? Apu? Baljit from Phineas and Ferb? This is what they thought of South Asian characters? Because no matter how well written they are, is that really the best that could be done to represent our culture? Really? What a yikes. And it may seem like a small thing to some of you guys, but it all comes together to reinforce a consistent message to people like me. You don't belong anywhere. You are the villain, and people hate you for who you are. And you will always, always be an outcast. And that has been an ongoing issue that has popped up again and again and again in my life. I have never felt like I belong anywhere. Even now, I still struggle to identify with others. So when I would be hanging out with my Western friends, we'd be having a good old time, sharing jokes and carrying the banner and all that. But then they decide to go to a bar to crack open a cold one, and then wham! I get a harsh reminder that I'm different. And whenever I'm with my Muslim friends, I'd have a great time, but some of the cultural aspects of being Pakistani was lost, and the time that I had spent living in a Western environment had instilled a more liberal view towards things. So I felt like I didn't belong there either. And that's why I always get so excited whenever there's a prominent Muslim creator online. Because we're just such a rare breed that I almost break all social etiquette to contact them and say, "Excuse me? You are really cool."
Thanks.
Weirdo.
I know it might sound sad, but I've had to embrace the fact that I am different. I mean, I'd gone through so many schools, having experienced the same motions and insults over and over and over again, that it was the only natural conclusion. It wasn't even chipping away or thickening my skin at this point, because to me, it was now commonplace. Something that I didn't really recognize as wrong for a very long time. And it got to a point where when something really awful happened, I would reflexively immediately joke about it.
That kind of reminds me of like a phrase, or not like necessarily a phrase, but something like, you ever heard the phrase, sticks and stones can break my bones, but words can never hurt me? Well, just like, yes and no, just like, it's not necessarily, it will hurt you, but it will desensitize you, which is not necessarily always a bad thing, but like in this case, yeah, that is. Like, it's not wrong to be desensitized, but like with this particular thing, where just people are treating you different simply because your skin color or stereotypes of something that you can't control. Like, being desensitized to these kinds of things is not okay, and I don't think it ever was, honestly. But it's kind of like sort of a defense mechanism, just to like be like ignored, joke about it, brush it off. But that just adds to more self-hate and to your like mental image or something like that. I don't know.
Example, there's a moment that happened a few years ago that I can't help but keep coming back to. I was seeing a middle-aged man as part of a routine medical checkup, and I told him that I was going to take his blood pressure. As is custom, I asked for his consent, which he said yes to, and I approached him. He then smiled, looked at me, and said, "Yeah, sure, as long as you don't blow up the clinic." And I, without skipping a beat, replied back, "Listen, mate, if you hear me speak Arabic, you'll know what's happening." That response caused him to start bellowing with laughter, all the whilst my supervising doctor sat behind me, wide-eyed, unsure of what just happened. And I stood there, smiling kindly, but also deeply uncomfortable. I think about this incident quite.
Yeah, I would be too because it's like that's like for example with the middle-aged man, for him to smile and look up at him, it's like, oh yeah, I'm gonna be so funny. Or it's like, I don't know, maybe you, I don't know how I think of it is like he was trying to get some sort of reaction or something, or like I'm not exactly sure. I can't say for sure, but just like that is not okay.
Often, replaying it over and over in my head to see what I could have done differently. Because what he said to a medical professional who was trying to help him is definitely not okay, and I think most people would agree that it was at least racially insensitive. But this is where it starts getting gray. Would showing that I had a good sense of humor be better in the end, as he'll walk away thinking more positively about Muslims and brown people in general? Or would it simply reinforce the fact that it's okay to make those remarks? Or should I have stood my ground and pointed out that it was not okay? Because yes, he would have set the record straight, but I'm on placement, and I can't just sternly tell off patients like that in front of my supervising doctor. And like, if I do react negatively, would it make him think even less of Muslims as a result? I don't know. I just don't know. I've been dealt whatever cards in life, and I try my very best to make the right move. But sometimes it's so gray and muddled that I don't even know if I'm making the right decisions or sometimes even playing the right game. And this incident was recent, showing that the mindset has not changed that much from how it was in the past. Some of you guys have asked why I don't color in my character's skin, despite the fact that I color in almost everything else. Some people assume that it's to follow trends, or carry on the white-skinned animated character legacy. However, the actual reason is that I was genuinely afraid about how you guys would react to a brown creator. I mean, there's not very many of us, and in the times that we're living in, at least, brown people have had very negative preconceptions attached to them. People look at us and judge in a certain way, you know? And I just didn't want to deal with that. But I also didn't want to lie to you guys, or grow the self-hate any bigger than it already was. So, for my very first video, I made the decision not to color in anything, and chose a story that was specifically centered around the fact that I'm a brown Muslim. That way, I was revealing my race to you guys in a more subtle way. Because I genuinely am trying to be prouder of who I am as a person. I publicly try to take pride in the fact that I'm brown, I speak my native language as often as possible, and keep in touch with my spirituality the best I can. And look, most of the time, my stories are about what I've done or experienced in the past, which gives me insight into what I've learned, which I can then share with you guys as a moral. However, with this, it's something that I'm still working on, you know? An area where I'm always trying to improve. So, at least this time, I can't be a role model or impart any high and mighty wisdom to solve your issues. But I do hope that one day, I can get there. I can't promise you that I'm gonna recolor my character or become an advocate at every waking moment, because I'm still working through this. And I'll learn from my experiences to hopefully, eventually, love who I am 100%. So with all that in mind, allow me to reintroduce myself. Hi, my name is Maaz, and I'm proud to be a Pakistani Australian Muslim.
I didn't even notice that. I didn't even notice that the background was. Wow, that and what? Oh my gosh, I don't even know what to say to that. Um, just like, oh wow, 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 wow. I think something important to sort of remember, or not, or at least just like you know, like racism is still to this day a topic that's kind of meh, or like it's put in a negative area, which is why I've been like sort of like struggling to sort of talk, not necessarily talk about it smoothly as I've done in the past, because racism literally has gotten worse. Because at the time you're seeing this, um, there was a lot of these quote unquote proud boys in the U.S. who broke into the Congress and just like, you know, caused a scene and not. I don't really want to spell out, but the police, they chose their sides. Honestly, like from the different two sides of the reaction, from the actual Black Lives Matter protest to the events that happened, because I believe these quote unquote Proud Boys were trying to overthrow Congress to let the leader stay into power and stuff like that, and the police chose their sides. They didn't react negatively. They didn't use rubber bullets, pepper spray. You know, they didn't use force. They didn't do any of that. They literally, honestly, I think there's a video of somebody being welcomed in by the police. Many police officers were being crushed and they attacked, and yet they never reacted negatively. So that's why it's just like it's so obvious that the U.S. police at least have chosen their sides, which is like it's made sort of my perception of, you know, like I thought genuinely that racism was getting better. You know, many people were speaking up for it for a while. It's kind of died down, which I'm kind of sad about because honestly, it's something that should have died down in the first place. But you know, like but I still do believe that, you know, we can make a difference. There are many people out there who are just simply denying that racism exists in the world. They're making fun of it. They are creating more and more racism, doing more racist things, which is why it's. I haven't honestly talked about racism in a while. We're not talked about racism, but just like, yeah. I know I posted my last video called "I reacted to Printing A's video on racism," but that was filmed at a different time. Like I don't post videos through like the timeline or stuff like that, or just like yeah. But just like, you know, this video was just like something that I think it really hit me, or not hit me, but just like something that I thought was powerful. Because like the Amaazing is one of my favorite animator YouTubers, so just to hear that he had to go through that in his life, it just, oh wow. But sort of does put into perspective that, you know, all these content creators online, they don't have that, you know, perfect life or that ideal life. Like they all go through problems, and many of them are probably still going through problems today. I think Maz is probably, or I don't know. Like I'm not exactly sure, but just like, you know, we all have our own problems to deal with, which is why it's so important that we remember human kindness. Because honestly, like I said in my quote unquote, I traveled to the past and talked to my 2019 self. I believe that because we've forgotten human kindness, it's caused these repercussions to help develop the world into what it is today. There's so much hate in the world that just like, you know, just like. But anyways, so yeah, this video is getting long enough, and yeah. Anyways, I left links down in the description below if you want to go watch the original video without my annoying face in it. I'm not exactly sure. I'll probably edit it, but anyway, so yeah, I left links down in the description below if you want to go watch the original video. Highly suggest. But anyway, so yeah, I left links down in the description below if you want to go watch the original video. Highly suggest you do. And honestly, leave me your thoughts on this particular topic. Honestly, I would love to hear it. Again, I haven't talked about racism in a while. I still do plan to talk about it more in the future, but just yeah. Also, I'm hoping I can post this by Black Shirt Day, so But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you want me to make more. But anyway, so I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I left a link to the original video down in the description below, and I'm hoping I'll be able to get this out by, I think, Black Shirt Day, which is January 15th, and I am supporting that. I will be supporting that. And yeah. Anyways, most recent videos are popping up on the screen. Subscribe if you haven't done so already. And remember guys, do what you love what you do. Peace.